Hey guys, it's God Bars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 224th episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So my logic for this pick is pretty much the same as my last video, where I thought it would be worth revisiting the artist because I haven't covered them since my first 10 uploads. In this case, the act I initially discussed was the infamous Memphis crew 36 Mafia, when I talked about their culture-shifting debut, Mystic Styles, which I'll leave a link for in the description down below, because in that review I discussed how the dark and atmospheric trap sounds that acts like Triple Six or DJ Screw largely popularized had an undeniable impact on much of the SoundCloud music that kind of took over the airwaves in the 2010s. There were a number of members and affiliates of 36 Mafia that made their own fair share of contributions to Southern hip hop. I've spoken multiple times about how influential their mentor and kind of OG DJ Spanish Fly was. But if there's any affiliate who was so close to being an official member that I think most fans just assumed he was one, it's definitely Juicy J's older brother, Project Pat. Make no mistake, there's definitely worthwhile solo projects from a good majority of the core roster. But today we're talking about what's arguably my favorite project the Mafia ever dropped. 1996's The End, which came out just 1 year after their enigmatic debut. The reason I say arguably is because this thing is neck and neck with Mystic Styles for me, and honestly, it's one of those cases where which option I prefer will flip-flop back and forth depending on what day you ask me. But while I occasionally struggle between which project I personally enjoy more, it's much less difficult to name which of the two classics is more underrated, as it's without a shadow of a doubt their second full-length here. This is sometimes billed as Chapter 1, The End, with Chapter 2 coming a good year later with World Domination, which is an insanely solid LP in its own right, just not quite as impactful or nostalgic for me as the first two albums. It may have taken their debut a little while to accrue its cult status, but at this point they've more than made up for lost time, considering how nowadays Mystic Styles is rightfully lauded as one of the more influential and forward-thinking 90s hip-hop albums to come out of the South. And for me, it's pretty much up there with the likes of 400 Degrees by Juvenile, Soul Food by Goody Mob, On Top of the World by 8 Ball and MJG, Ice Cream Man by Master P, UGK's Ridin' Dirty, and even We Can't Be Stopped by Ghetto Boys. It may not be the dense and heady experience an album like Aquemini by Outkast is, but I don't think that's really what any of the 3-6 members were going for. It's much more about the moody, ominous sounds that at times border on sinister, and of course the fast-paced, choppy flows. I also feel like 3-6 doesn't get nearly enough credit when it comes to their influence on the crunk movement, because while Lil Jon and the East Side Boys played arguably the biggest role in bringing attention to that subgenre, sometimes I feel like it gets to the point where people act as if those guys invented that type of music. To be fair, I don't think it actually originated with 3-6 Mafia either. I believe it got pioneered in New Orleans or Atlanta, but even still, these guys do use the term crunk a number of times across this LP, which was one of the many elements they were pretty ahead of the curve on. While this album isn't quite as dark as their previous LP, the trade-off is we get a higher ratio of fast-paced, fiery verses. And I think it's actually really commendable that the members of Triple Six opted to push their sound into a new comfort zone instead of trying to recreate exactly what made their debut successful. I wanted to share some of my favorite verses off The End, starting the killer track that follows right after the intro, where Koopsta opens up the album flowing his ass off in this dope pocket, rapping, "Voices in them trees, these are the things that help me vision these evil most things. Me and DJ Paul, we got the hookup finna go stick. Me on the passenger side, Loke took a slight peek through thy window. Something creeping up slow, it was this Lotus driven by this hoe. So I'm sipping on the Remy, hoping it won't cross my road's attention. Not only was you in it, yet another person driving. Paul stopped the car, said, "Won't you buck 'em rough, Coopsta? Shirt, I know you hurt, take 'em Birch's back, take 'em back with them slugs. Sad to see you gone, son, Teflon's in your creds. Mr. Cut 'em in dread, yeah, Coopsta got him scared. Want profit in, shit, see that what you get for talking shit. Trick, I'll drop you in a ass plunder, cut you up like Jeffrey Dahmer, biatch." Then we go from one deceased legend to another, as Coopsta passes the mic to my favorite 3-6 Mafia member, Lord Infamous. A true pioneer who, as usual, cuts up the track using his idiosyncratic flow, starting off with "Come, come, who the fuck they want some? Rappers wanna jump, jump, get you, make you pump, pump. Scarecrow me shall bump, bump. Off a dude who fakin', going to a ragin', bitches tremblin' shakin', rump, rump, shakin'. Mafioso rude, boy, we will act a fool, boy, we don't give a damn if you're fucking red or blue, boy. Cut 'em by the waistline, flowing on the baseline. Lord Infamous don't waste time when me gotta get mine. You know what I want, why you usin' the guessin'? Storm on this bitch like some New Year's confetti. Astronomical 666 ride space on top of asteroids. Coming to rip up the shore, we kill all the foes, so don't act a fool, boy. DJ Paul and Juicy J handle all of the production on the end, as is often the case with 3-6 Mafia projects. But we do get some pretty fire guest appearances brought in from inside and outside the camp, from the likes of K-Rock, Gangsta Black, M-Child, Prophet Posse, Killa Clan Craze, and Project Pat. When it comes down to my top 3 overall favorite songs on this thing, I ultimately had to go with Stomp, Gotcha Shakin', and Walk Up to Ya House. And then for the honorable mentions, I want to shout out tracks including Last Man Standing, Money Flow, Late Night Tip, I Ain't Goin', In Too Deep, Destruction Terror, Where's the Bud, Body Parts, and Where to Kill Is Hang. Thank you for watching my 224th video. Next time, we're coming back over to the West Coast to cover one of the most underrated LPs and MCs from this side of the country. So look for that video, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite songs are off this Southern Trap Tastemaker. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.
Look, the key to my soul is locked in the cage it opens. The framework was made from my own rib cue. What came first, the crack or the crack lighter? Whichever one the first fiend used to bring back